YouTube, welcome to another spoiler video. It is a day of the week, therefore it is spoiler season, and today has just begun the Outlaws of Thunder Junction spoilers. And we are going to be taking a look at a couple of these cards to see if any of them have an impact on some of our formats, maybe standard, maybe tiny leaders, maybe comic out block constructed, but we'll take a look and see if there's any bangers down here. First up, Lazav, Familiar Stranger. 3-mana 1/4 when you commit a crime, which in order to commit a crime, for those of you who are unaware, for the uneducated folks out there, it includes targeting opponents, anything they control, and or cards in their graveyard. So if you target them or any of their stuff, that's how you commit a crime. I believe also punching them in the face counts, but, we need to check the MTR on that. Whenever you commit a crime, put a +1/+1 counter on Lazav, Familiar Stranger, and you may exile a card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, you may have become a copy of that card until end of turn. I mean, 3-mana 1/4, you kind of already have this in Standard with the 2-mana Lazav, so probably not quite there. Form a Posse. Anybody out there just want to form a posse together? It's X red-white sorcery, make X 1/1s with tap, target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Good limited card, probably nothing for construct. Jolene, Plundering Pugilist? Pugilist? How do you pronounce that word? Jolene, Plundering, we're gonna go with Pugilist, because that sounds cool. 4/2 for 3, whenever you attack with one or more creatures with power 4 or greater, make a treasure. 2 sack a treasure, deal 1. I don't know, 3-mana 4/2 is kind of sus. Does die to a lot of removal. It does dodge cut down, but there's probably better 3-drops that you can play. The folks of TwitchChat have been clamoring about Satoru, and I haven't read this card yet, so we're going to read it together. Satoru the Infiltrator. Blue and black for a 2/3 menace. Whenever it and or one or more other non-token creatures enter the battlefield, if none of them were cast or no mana was spent to cast them, draw a card. So it's good with ninjas. We're not doing this in modern. There's no way this is modern playable. I'm thinking of standard applications and like what in the blue-black deck this works with. There are ninjas still in standard, and maybe this kind of makes ninjas a more viable strategy because there are some ninjas that are quite powerful. I don't know. I could see it. It's got menace. It's nice. It is legendary, which is a little awkward, and it dies to cut down Keck W. It's kind of the bar that you have to pass in standard, but I mean. You're not going to find a 2-drop that survives cut down, to be fair. I don't know, it's close. Like I said, I don't think you're playing this in modern, but we'll see. Double Down. It's 3 and a blue enchantment. Whenever you cast an outlaw spell, copy that spell. Assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks are outlaws. No? Next. Good with the Kamigawa sagas. What's Satoru? Satoru and Legacy Cheerios. Yeah, we're not playing this in other formats besides Standard. It's not happening. Rakish Crew. 2 and a black enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you make a 1/1 mercenary. With tap, target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Why do these what's unfortunate about these tokens is you can only activate as a sorcery. Right? If this token, because I'm assuming there's a lot of cards that make this particular token, because we've already seen 2 cards that have it. I really wish that could be activated at instant speed. I know they don't like doing stuff they don't like doing instant speed stuff that like messes with combat math because it's just more stuff that you have to track on the battlefield, especially in limited. But I don't know. It's +1/+0. It's not like it defends that well. It's just like you're trading up in combat when they attack. That's really all it's doing. But you're still trading. You're not saving your creature in combat. Whenever an outlaw you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Seems like a very good limited card, right? I'm assuming that you can build around mercenaries and outlaws, and this seems like quite a good build around in limited, but nothing for constructed. Trained Erynx, white and colors for a 3/1 cat beast mount. I'm assuming mount is a new creature type. I've seen this on a couple of cards. Whenever it attacks while saddled, AO, it gains first strike until end of turn. Scry 1. And to saddle, you can saddle 2, so you tap any number of other creatures you control with total power 2 or more. This mount becomes saddled until end of turn. So, whenever it attacks while saddled, so you can tap a creature with power 2 or more to saddle it, and until end of turn, and then it attacks you first strike scry 1. Good and limited, but I guess like if it's only gaining a bonus on your turn, then it being a sorcery speed only is kind of whatever. Transmutation Font. I saw Aspiring Spike talk about this card. This is a really sweet card, but it's way too expensive, obviously. It's a 5 mana artifact, Omega Lull. Tap, you make a blood, a clue, or a food, and then you pay 3 tap, sack 3 artifacts with different names, and then just put an artifact from your library onto the battlefield. You know, really sweet design, really fun card, but EDH bait, definitely nothing for any of our constructed formats, so keep that in mind. But EDH players, rejoice. Oltec Matter Weaver. This card's kind of interesting. So, okay, I need some explanation and some clarification from the folks and the folks of Twitch chat. What does this symbol mean compared to the normal set symbol? Don't know, like, are these standard legal? I think I have. Yeah, okay, because they're separate sheets, right? The same as regular cards. They are standard legal. Okay. Wait, so Torpor Orb is standard legal? They just let us have Torpor Orb? Kind of shits on Convoke. That's what I'm saying. It's like a massive printing for standard. It's also really good against the Traxa. I'm just surprised. I didn't think they would put a card like this into standard. They don't usually print like very cheap generic hate cards like this into a standard format. Yeah, good for Pioneer too. The Vault symbol is for the standard legal set. It's the only bonus sheet that is in this release. It was its own Aftermath set, and then it just kind of jammed it into the set. Okay, cool. So apparently these cards are standard legal, which means they're also Pioneer legal, which very good implications for Torpor. How about Oltec Matter Weaver? This is 2 and a white for a 2/4. Whenever you cast a creature spell, choose one. You make a 1/1 artifact token, or make a token that's a copy of an artifact token. That's too many tokens. If this could copy any artifact, it'd be pretty cool. I don't know. It's interesting with like cheap artifacts, Memnite, Ornithopter, Welding Jar, Mishra's Bauble, stuff like that. But you have to, like, I guess this works with Saga in some kind of weird white Saga deck that's not Hammer, because you don't want to put a 3-mana 2/4 into Hammer. But if you can make a Construct token and then cast a Memnite to make another Construct token, it's kind of cool. The only thing about this in Standard is there's no 0-mana artifacts. Like, there's no 0-mana things that trigger this. You have no it's only creature spells, never mind, so no Bauble. But no Memnite or Ornithopter. Maybe in Pioneer with Ornithopter. Could see something there. But it is kind of interesting with Thousand Moon Smithy. Something to keep in mind. But yeah, this card is powerful if you can find 0-mana ways to trigger it, like, Ornithopters, Memnites, things like that. Vaultborn Tyrant. This looks like Commander bait. 6/6 trample for 7. Whenever it or another creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield, gain 3 life, draw a card. When it dies, if it's not a token, create a token that's a copy of this. Yeah, okay, Commander bait, cool. Next, Torpor Orb. Torpor Orb is phenomenal. Again, I did not realize that this was legal in Standard, which also means that it is legal in Pioneer. But that is a massive printing. Like, being able to stop Night Errant of Eos, Atraxa, those are kind of the 2 main ones in Standard. And then if you kind of branch into Pioneer, you get Venerated Loxodon, all of the 1-drops, Epicure, Thraben Inspector, all that kind of stuff. This is a massive printing. I'm almost wondering if the printing of Torpor Orb means that Domain has to kind of retool the deck entirely, because this shuts off Archangel and Atraxa, right? Now, granted, they still have Binding to kill it, but if they can't remove Torpor Orb, like, I don't see how Domain beats this card. Like, they get nothing out of their Angels. I mean, they get the body, I guess, but I don't know. This could be a really, really big printing. Yeah, they have Lockdown too, I guess. So they have answers to it. Yeah, that is kind of funny against Convoke, where it stops all of their stuff, but it also just gets Gleeful Demolition. So it is good against Convoke, but they just built in have 4 answers to it, which is pretty funny. So this bonus sheet, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are not standard legal, but they will be timeless legal, I believe. And if that's the case, Vista, cool printing for timeless. This is, actually, no, it's not massive. We already had Scapeshift. We're missing Valakut in timeless. Okay, so Scapeshift doesn't matter. Notion Thief we already had. Desertion. I don't think people are playing Desertion in 2024. I don't even think people were playing Desertion back in 2002. Morbid Opportunist. I don't even know what this card does. It's a 1/3 for 3. Whenever 1 or more other creatures die, draw a card. once each turn. Why do they gotta put this line of text? I'm just gonna, aside here for a second. This is just Doomwake rant. The line of text that says this ability triggers only once each turn is the most frustrating line of text that you can put on any card imaginable. Like, I understand for balancing reasons, some of the cards have to have it, but I don't think, like, if you just remove this line of text, I don't think this card would be broken. It would be a lot better for sure, but it's unplayable with this line of text. Unfortunate, but there could be some cool sacrifice decks if it weren't for that line of text. Mystic Snake, lovely card, but not playable in 2024. Desert, who cares? Port Razor, 4/4, deals combat damage to a player. Untap each creature you control after this phase through an additional combat phase. Can't attack a player it has already attacked this turn. Probably not that good. Borrower, not a relevant printing for Timeless because we already have it on Arena. Stoneforge Mystic, this one's kind of interesting. I don't want to spoil anything down here. I wonder if this potentially makes a hammer deck playable in Timeless. Now, you don't have Urza Saga, but you have Stoneforge, Sigarda's Aid, Colossus Hammer, Pure Steel Paladin. So, I don't know. There could be something there. You have to try and build it, build a hammer deck without Urza Saga. All right, Path to Exile. Not super relevant for Timeless because we already have Swords to Plowshares, so, there's basically no reason to play Path over Swords. Grindstone in Timeless. Now, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but wait a minute. Was Painter's Servant in Brothers War Retro? Like, okay, I need to check this. I need to see, is Painter's Servant just randomly on Arena for no reason? Because if that's the case, this is nuts. Timeless, not legal. Historic, not legal. Okay, it appears that it is not on Arena. All right, I wonder if there's anything we can do with Grindstone on Arena. I doubt it, but it is interesting. So this one's one to keep an eye out for if they ever give us Painter's Servant in some, random ancillary product. But the next line of cards, for folks who are watching this that play Timeless, you kind of already know that the format, has become an issue after the printing of Show and Tell. Well, what if I told you there was a blue card that they were going to put into Timeless that might ruin it even more? I don't know why we're getting this, but apparently Timeless now has Mana Drain, and I don't really know what to think of that. I just don't really have words. I don't understand why they would ever consider putting Mana Drain into a constructed format that isn't Vintage. But here we are, I don't know. Sure, I guess. I mean, like I said, I don't really know what to think. If you're playing blue, you should probably play 4 Mana Drains. Yeah, just, if you look at Mana Drain for just a completely reasonable card. Nothing going on here. Nothing going on here. But yeah, card's broken, obviously. Not much to say about that. Clear Shot, Oko. Oko we already had in Timeless. Clear Shot is an uncommon that doesn't do that much, so whatever, who cares. The Key to the Vault, back to standard cards. So to the Key to the Vault, we have 2 mana for an artifact. Whenever it's an equipment, equipped for 3, it's a legendary equipment. And whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may exile a non-land card from among them, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Very expensive. Sure, very, very expensive. If you can find cheap evasive creatures and you have enough mana to equip this, it's kind of cool. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I think it's a little too expensive. If they equip this maybe like 1 less, I'd be maybe more interested in it. But at 5 total, 2 to play, 3 to equip, I think I'm not a huge fan of this one. But let me know what you guys think in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. These fancy cards are not standard legal. These are Timeless legal, but not standard. I mean, this is interesting. So Ruthless Lawbringer, 3/2 for 3. When ETBs, you may sack another creature. When you do, destroy a non-land permanent. There are some things in Standard. I'm thinking like Greedy Freebooter and things of that nature that you might want to like sacrifice to get some sort of a benefit, and that could be kind of interesting. It's also a vampire. Yeah, Telos brings up a good point. It is a vampire. Now, I don't know if you want to play white in the Pioneer Vampires deck, but, this could be something where, say, you sacrifice, like, Voltaren Epicure that you already got value off of, and then you just have access to more, unconditional removal spells, which is kind of nice. I could see it. Okay, Frontier Seeker, 2 mana, 2/1 ETBs. Look at the top 5 of your library. You may reveal a mount or a planes from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So, top 5? Are we playing Mount Tribal? I don't know if there's enough payoff for Mount Tribal, but Mount is a new creature type. Well, you don't know, it's not ramp because the planes goes to your hand. But I mean, if there's enough playable cards with the creature type Mount, 2 mana for a 2/1 that looks at the top 5 and puts a card into your hand, like that's pretty appealing. But kind of depends on if we have enough playable cards with the creature type Mount. So we'll see on that. Yeah, the special guests are not standard legal. Honest Rut Stain. Black-green 1 for a 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So, I mean, it's not that honest, right? Because he's, honest Rutstain, not that honest when creatures, when you're cheating on mana. Can't be that honest. But I don't know, 3 mana, 3/2, Eternal Witness that gets creatures and then gives you a blanket discount on all of your creatures. Seems kind of interesting. It is also legendary, as Longsleeves points out, which could be very good with the Slogurk deck. Grinning Ignis Pioneer card. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You can rebuy your Grinning Ignis. Rebuy your Grinning Ignis, get it back, and it's a combo piece for your Ignis. A lot of cool stuff you can do with this card. You can do it with Slogurk. All right, this one, very, very important printing for Standard. Scorching Shot. Very, very simple card. Red sorcery, deal 5 to target creature. So, folks, folks at home might remember the card called Roast, which was from Dragons of Tarkir. It's red in the colors, deal 5 to a creature without flying. Now, this is just a strictly better version of that, at a slightly harder to cast mana cost, right? Red compared to red colorless, but dealing 5 to any creature is very important. Now, the question you have to ask is this card better than Witchstalker Frenzy, which is 3R instant, deal 5 to a creature, and it costs 1 less for each creature that attack this turn. So, a little bit worse in your pre-combat main phase, but much better in combat and post-combat main phase. I don't know if this card is necessarily better, because you also can't kill Shieldred at instant speed, which is usually pretty important for the red decks. Like, you want to be able to kill it on their end step. Or if they, attack with some stuff, then play Shieldred, or, they play Shieldred pre-combat, go to attacks, attack with Raffine, then they've already declared attacks, you can then respond to the Raffine trigger, Frenzy the Shieldred before they gain the life. So, I don't know. I think this could be a, 1 or 2 of, in addition to Frenzy. Oh, this card would be way too good at instant speed, for sure. It has to be a sorcery for balancing purposes. But again, I'm not sure it's better than Frenzy, which the red decks already play for Frenzy. Maybe in addition, you could play 1 or 2 copies of this, and maybe that's worth it. But I don't think you should be cutting Frenzy from your deck for this card, so keep that in mind. But yeah, very good. Another good answer to Shieldred. It's kind of funny to me, how you can really tell how much of a problem they thought Shieldred was going to be in Standard with how many cards they've printed that just basically say destroy target Shieldred. All right, can we get a holy cow spam, chat? Can we get a holy cow spam? Yeah, there it is. The holiest of cows. 3 mana 2/2 flash flying. When Holy Cow enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and scry 1. Best card in the set, not close. Not close. Apothecary, 3/2 Death Touch. Whenever you commit a crime, creature control against choice of menace or lifelink. Cool, limited but not constructed. Ooh, Vial Smasher. Black-red 3/2. Whenever another Outlaw enters the battlefield under your control, Vial Smasher Gleeful Grenadier deals 1 to target opponent. Not great. If you've learned anything from watching today's stream so far, Holy Cow is the most important card in this set. Alright, what the hell is this? Cactarantula? So it's a cactus spider? Wait, what? Is that the lore? It's a cactus spider? Anyways. 6/5 costs 1 less. I mean, it's cactus spider is interesting. Spider with a cactus on its back. I gotta zoom in on this one. This is the most important thing we've done all day. I need no, stop. There we go. Yeah, just the cactus has invaded the spider. The cactus has become one with the spider. It's a normal Australian spider. Well, I definitely don't want to go to Australia now. All right, Colossal Rattleworm, 6/5 for 4. That sounds pretty cool. Has flash as long as you control a desert. That's kind of sweet. So 6/5 flash for 4 if you have a desert. You can pay 2, exile it from your graveyard, search for a desert, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. This card seems busted. Wait, what? Is this card not cracked? 6/5 flash trample for 4 mana, and you get a ramp ability if they kill it, and you get to search for any desert. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what like big green, what deck in standard wants a big green idiot, but 6/5 flash for 4 mana is messed up. Like, even if it had no other text beyond that, it would still be insane. Power creep is something else these days, folks. Power creep is something. Make your own luck. I don't know. I saw Tandy tweet about this card. It looked... he seemed to like it, but I don't know. What do we think about this? So it's 3 blue-green for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may exile a non-land card from among them. If you do, it becomes plotted, and then put the rest into your hand. So plotted says you can cast it as a sorcery on a later turn without paying its mana cost. I don't know if that's good. Like, it is extremely high variance, right? If you spike in some big thing, Atraxa, Emrakul, sure, that's cool. But, yeah, I don't know. You have to, like, put a bunch of expensive cards in your deck and also cast a 5-mana sorcery, and then you also can't cast the plotted card that turn. You have to wait a turn. I don't know. I don't see it. Doesn't seem very good. Yeah, 3 also is not a lot. If it was, like, maybe 4 or 5, but you have to put a lot of expensive cards in your deck for... look at the top 3 to hit a big expensive card. And that kind of sucks, right? How about we just skip the uncommons and go right to the rares? Maybe there's something that I'm missing, but we'll do the uncommons a different day. It's the final showdown. Do-do-do-do. Anyways, white instant, Spree. So Spree is basically just the new kicker, so you'll notice that the white in the top right, there's a little plus symbol. I know it's a little hard to tell on the non-zoomed image. So you start base cost white, and you can pay additional mana to get a bonus. So you can pay an additional colorless to have all creatures lose all abilities until end of turn. Kind of cool. You can pay another additional colorless to choose a creature you control. It gains indestructible until end of turn. And then you can pay 5 to Wrath. So what's kind of insane about this is even if you don't pay the first 2 colorless, it's just 3 white, instant speed Wrath, which is kind of sick in standard. Now, obviously, it's, it doesn't exile, or it doesn't give you a big thing like Sunfall does. Unlike Farewell, it doesn't pop artifacts and enchantments. But what's really important about this for the control decks that I think maybe is not the most obvious thing on first read is that one of the most important and one of the best tools against control decks are creature lands, Restless Reef, all of that cycle, Mishra's Foundry, everything like that. And like getting to have an instant speed Wrath that can blow up those creatures when they go to combat is pretty important. So I don't know. In the control decks, you're not going to get a ton out of the other 2 abilities with I guess maybe they have indestructible creatures and you pay an additional colorless to do that. You probably never do the second one because you're not going to play a lot of creatures in your control deck, but I don't know. Interesting. Very important that like I said, that it kills creature lands on your opponent's turn, which is something that most Wraths do not do. Yeah, can they stop giving blue-white control more cards? All right, and now, honestly, we get to talk about probably the 5 most important cards spoiled today, and they're not even new cards. These are the fast lands. Which means that the fast lands are now in standard. And for those of you astute viewers at home, you might realize that we now have all 10 fast lands. Now, previously, before the printing of these 5, if you were playing an enemy color deck, your mana was a little bit worse, right? Golgari midrange, Boros Convoke, the Simic Cookies deck, and there you go. Now we have fixed the mana base for all 3 of those decks. I'm not really sure I'm not sure how much this moves the needle on 3-color decks because, yes, you have the ability to play 12 fast lands in a 3-color deck, but I don't know if you really want to play 12 fast lands because standard games, especially in 3-color decks, the games tend to go a little bit past turn 3. And if you have 12 fast lands and plan on playing games that last more than 3 turns, then you're going to have a lot of enter the battlefield tap lands combined with restless lands and stuff like that. So, I still don't think that 3-color decks will play 12 of these, but depending on which 1 and 2 drops you have, you might want to play additional copies of this. And, things like Esper and like Otterhouse points out, Esper Mentor is something that could be interesting now with Concealed Courtyard. Maybe some sort of Sultai, like, I'm trying to think. Sultai Squirming Emergence maybe wants to play some mix of Sanctum Marsh, because that deck has mana restrictions where it's like you need blue on 1 for Gaze, and then blue on 2 for the enchantment, which I can't remember the name of. It'll come to me in a second. Founding. And then you also need black-green on turn 3. And that's really hard to do, right? Blue on 1, blue on 2, black-green on 3. Now that we have 2 more fast lands, maybe that's more doable. So, yeah, fast lands are great. And obviously the biggest one is Boros Convoke with Inspiring Vantage. That deck had the worst possible mana base in the entire standard format, and now it has another good dual land, so maybe Boros gets a little bit better. Next up, we have Gisa, the Hellraiser, 3 black, 4/4. The ward cost is 2 colorless and 2 life, which is kind of cool, pretty hard to kill. It says, skeletons and zombies you control get +1/+1 and have menace. Okay, so tell me more. Whenever you commit a crime, you make 2 tap 2/2 blue and black zombie rogue creature tokens. Ability triggers only once each turn. Well, the nice thing about that is once each turn, you can trigger it on your opponent's turn. So if you're playing some sort of black mid-range deck that has a lot of instant speed removal, because remember, committing a crime says targeting opponents, anything they control, and or cards in their graveyards. So say you cut down their creature on your turn, you make 2 zombies. Pass to their turn, you go for the throw to creature on their turn, you make 2 more zombies. I don't know, seems pretty powerful. I'm trying to think of how many 5-drops the black mid-range decks play now, but I mean, making 4 zombies in 1 turn cycle is pretty appealing. So I could definitely see this card making an impact in the mid-range decks in Standard, for sure. Great Train Heist is up next. It's a red instant and it has Spree. We talked about this earlier. Spree is the you can pay. It's basically just kicker. So 1 mana, nothing, +3 untap all creatures and additional combat phase. 2 to give creatures +1/+0 in first strike. And then 1 red to choose an opponent. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to that player, make a tap treasure. So for 4 mana, it's just Reckless... What's that? Reckless Assault? Just instant speed, get into the combat step. And then additional 2 mana, give your stuff +1/+0 first strike, which would be 6 mana total. I guess 5 mana additional combat phase and all of your stuff makes treasures when they hit them is kind of cool. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, I guess if they go to Emperor in combat, you can respond with this to untap your stuff. I could see like... So I think the most powerful part of this card is the fact that you get an additional combat phase in your red aggressive deck. So if you are playing the card for that mode specifically and have the other stuff be just kind of just gravy, maybe that's something you can build around. Tiny Bones joins up. Black Enchantment, ETB, any number of target players each discard a card. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield, any number of target players each mill a card lose a life. Why is that card a rare? Can we have a discussion? Is there any reason this card needs to be a rare? It does trigger crimes, yeah. Oh, because the second ability targets. I see. Okay, so it's a good crime enabler. All right, we're going to get to probably my favorite card spoiled so far. Slick Shot Show Off. This is red and a colorless for a 1/2 flying haste. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Some Kiln Fiend vibes. And then plot for a red and 1. Now, I saw Twitter user Azax post on Twitter about why does this card even have plot? And I actually think plot is makes this card insane. I think that's what makes it so good. Because what's sick about the plot with this card is you can say on turn 2, you can pay 2 mana to plot it, right? And then on turn 3, you just cast it for free, and then you have this thing on the battlefield with all of your mana to either pump it or protect it. So imagine a sequence where you go, turn 2, plot, pay 2 mana, plot this, turn 3, cast it for free, maybe cast Ancestral Anger, Defiant Strike, and then still have 1 mana up for God's Willing. You're dealing a trillion damage that turn, and you can still protect the show off. So I think this card is awesome for the Boros Heroic decks. It's also a wizard for Flame of Venor. It's also a wizard for Wizard's Lightning and Pioneer. There's just like so many things that you can do with this card, and it has flying. Like on top of all of that, uh, this thing just has built-in evasion. I think this card is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to be playing a lot of this card in Pioneer. Maybe it's good in Standard too. This card seems phenomenal. Love this card. Love it, love it, love it. Favorite card spoiled so far. All right, Magda, the Horde Master, 2-mana 2/2. Whenever you commit a crime, you make a tap treasure. This ability triggers only once each turn. God, they just love that line of text. I hate it. I can't. I cannot with that line of text. Sacrifice 3 treasures, make a 4/4 token with flying and haste. Scorpion Dragon's kind of cool. Commit a crime, make a tap treasure. So I think Spike was talking about this, where like if you have Bauble, Hearse, or Relic of Progenitus, it's a good way to trigger on your opponent's turn. So like what I can imagine a scenario, and this is like, Magical Christmas Land. It's like turn 1, land Relic of Progenitus. Turn 2, land Magda, Bauble you, sack Bauble. On my turn, trigger Magda. On your turn, Relic you, trigger Magda again, that's 2 treasures. Then on my next turn, I can maybe have something else, or use the Relic to trigger it again, and then make a 4/4 flyer. And that's like best case scenario. And in the best case scenario, you have a 4/4 flyer on turn 3. Assuming they don't kill this. Like, is that good? I don't know. Maybe. Like, if you kind of envision how it's going to play out in an average game, and even if you're just looking at the ceiling, I'm not even sure the ceiling is that good. Like, people are playing a 2-mana 4/4 with 7 abilities on turn 2, and the best thing you get is a 4/4 flying haste that can't even attack into their Scion? Like, I just don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you can use the treasures for other things. Like, you can just ramp and cast more stuff, You don't have to sack the treasures to Magda. You can just use the treasures as mana ramp. Maybe this is better as just a mana engine than a 4/4 flyer engine. So, something to keep in mind, but it is interesting. Okay, what's the lore behind... We have to zoom in on this one. What is the lore behind the Gitrog Ravenous Ride? Look at this thing. I need lore. I need lore folks in chat. 3BG 6/5 Trample Haste. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice a creature that's saddled it this turn. If you do, draw X cards, then put X lands from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, where X is the sacrifice creature's power. And then saddle is you can tap a creature with power greater than or equal to, I think. So you tap a 1/1 to saddle this, hit them, sack the creature, and draw a card and put a land into play. I don't know about that. It seems okay. It's cool for like flavor reasons, but not sure I'm a huge fan of the card itself. 6 mana 4/5 Flash. That's kind of hot. ETB, if you cast it, return a permanent with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Whenever it becomes tapped, exile the top 2 cards. You may play those cards this turn. I mean, that card's cool, but 6 mana is kind of a lot for standard, so not sure. 3/3. Oh, this is Kellen the Kid. Why is Kellen got to be a kid? 3/3 for 3. Flying Lifelink. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or less a mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. 3/3 Flying Lifelink for 3 is already pretty good, and this card is insane with Virtue of Loyalty, right? Like, you just go turn 2, cast the spell half of Virtue, turn 3 this, and then turn 5, you just get to play Virtue from exile for 5 mana, and then you can play a permanent spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand for free. That's pretty good. Now, it's in weird colors. It's in Bant, not Esper, and usually the blue-white Virtue decks want to be Esper, but I'm sure you could find a Bant deck, and like I said, I mean, 3 mana 3/3 Flying Lifelink is just fine. Those stats are more than good enough. It doesn't die to cut down either. Like, with Kellen, you don't specifically have to... Like, the Virtue doesn't have to resolve, and you don't have to untap with it. That's kind of the point, right? So, that's kind of sick. All right, couple of cards to wrap up here. Vraska the Silencer, 3/3 for 3 Death Touch. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you may pay 1. If you do, return that card to the battlefield tapped under your control. It's a treasure artifact. Makes the treasure, loses all other card types. So, 3/3 Death Touch for 3. When their stuff dies, you can pay an additional mana to get it onto your side, where it's a treasure and it loses all their card types, but it still has all abilities. So correct me if I'm wrong, but if I have a Vraska the Silencer in play, okay, and I go for the throat my opponent's Atraxa, you see where I'm going with this, and then you pay 1 mana to get that, you get the Atraxa trigger, right? Does it keep the legendary type? It says loses all other card types, and I think legendary is a card type, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, okay, so it doesn't... So, okay, so it would still keep legendary then? Mad. But still, I mean, killing their Shieldred, and just... What's nice about getting the Shieldred back as a treasure is they can't use a Cutdown or a Go for the Throat on your treasure. You just have a Shieldred that is very, very hard for them to kill, which is kind of sick. I don't know. I'll definitely try this over some of the other 3-drops in Golgari, but that's kind of the big problem here, is Golgari was not lacking 3s. It already had a plethora. It was already so glutted at the 3 spot, so cool card, but we'll have to try it out and see if it's better than any of the other 3-drops that we already have access to. All right, last card we're going to discuss today, Jace Reawakened. This is a 2-mana Planeswalker. Oh, never thought they would do that again, huh? Well... what do we have here? So blue, 3 loyalty. The static says you cannot cast this spell during your first, second, or third turns of the game. So some Sarah Avenger vibes. The plus is draw card, discard. The other plus is you may exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your hand. If you do, it becomes plotted. And then -6 until end of turn. Whenever you cast a spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So the card that people were talking about with this is Valki, because what happens is if you plot Valki with the +1 ability, you can then, the next turn, cast Tibalt for free. I don't really know if that's a good plan, because you can't cast Jace until turn 4, and then you also can't cast the Valki until turn 5, which is a turn that you could just bring to light for Valki anyways. Like, I understand that you get to play the Tibalt for free and have all of your mana, so you can, like... So what's cool with Jace, the Jace Tibalt thing, is you go Jace plus, plot Tibalt, untap, Wrath, some, bring the light for Wrath or whatever, and then also follow up with the Valki, right? That's kind of cool. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'll build decks around Jace Valki, Jace Tibalt, but I'm not sold on it quite yet. But we'll definitely do some cooking. That's probably the best application that I've seen. I guess in Timeless, you can do Jace plus Crashing Footfalls, but I don't know. We'll have to see what kind of comes of that. But interesting card. I like it. Not sure if it's going to be super playable, though. All right, folks, and that is the first day of Outlaws of Thunder Junction spoilers, with some interesting cards, some cards that I think are maybe a little bit overrated, maybe some that are a little bit underrated. And yeah, let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. What is your favorite card spoiled so far? And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, YouTube.